What's up? Social studies. And today we're gonna play ball! Why are we learning about baseball and social studies? So what you're gonna find out is baseball mirrors a lot of what happened in America from the Civil War on. We're talking about baseball itself started getting popular during the Civil War, and people brought it home with them after the war. It's segregated, just like America becomes, especially in the South, where there are two types of leagues. And even around the country, the major leagues only allowed whites after a certain time, like 1890 or 1880. And it took a long time until Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. They were going to learn about the Negro League, so they had to have a separate league, which is just like how they were living in America. So it kind of mirrors that. So we're going to learn about that and about civil rights at the same time. Alright, so it's kind of fun and we'll be learning. Alright, so play ball! It has been more than 100 years since the first World Series, which the Red Sox won. Well, they were called the Pilgrims, but it was them. So break out the hot dogs, the peanuts, and the stories. Baseball is a great window into America's history, by Michael Ruskow. Each summer, 70 million people go to baseball games. What do they see? They see players on the field, but that is not all. Fans also see American history. Since the 1800s, baseball has grown with the United States. Changes in the sport also show the changes in our country. War games. People have played baseball since before the Civil War. This was a war between the states. It began in 1861. 13 states seceded. They broke away and formed their own country. The U.S. Army fought to take them back. The war lasted 4 years. Soldiers played baseball whenever they could. Prisoners played to keep from getting bored. Sometimes guards played too. The game was a break from the war. The Civil War ended in 1865, yet baseball lived on. Soldiers went home. They took baseball with them. The game spread across the country. Some cities formed two teams. One was for blacks, another was for whites. Baseball was segregated or divided by people's race. So was the country. The national pastime. Baseball became more and more popular. People began to call it the national pastime. Pastime is something fun to do. Many Americans enjoyed the sport. Rich people and poor people watched baseball games. Even U.S. presidents had fun in ballparks. They began many new traditions. President William H. Taft threw the first pitch of the season in 1910. Woodrow Wilson was the first president to attend a World Series game. In 1917, a star-spangled sport. In 1917, the United States entered World War I. The war gave many people a sense of patriotism, that is, a love for one's country. Americans shared the patriotism at baseball games. They sang the Star-Spangled Banner at the start of each game, which, as you know, we still do today. A new league. World War II began just 20 years after World War I. The United States entered the war in 1941. Many players left baseball to be soldiers. While the men were at war, women went to work. They got jobs that had been done only by men. Women also got the chance to play baseball. The All-American Girls Baseball League formed in 1943. The league had many great players. It kept going after the war. But the league closed in 1954. Since then, only men have played professional baseball. Ending segregation. Even after World War II, blacks and whites played on different teams. Baseball in America was still segregated, but not for long. In 1947, Jackie Robinson made history. He became the first black player to join the major leagues. He helped many Americans see that segregation was wrong. A few years later, laws were passed to end segregation in schools, a world sport. Today, baseball is still an American pastime, but it is also popular all around the world. People from many countries now play the sport. Some even make it to the major leagues. These players and their fans are part of America's history. If you take a look at that picture, though, I want to show sliding to fame. There's Jackie Robinson made headlines when he began playing in the majors in 1947. 2 years later, he was named Most Valuable Player. Now we can learn about the color of baseball. Making history, Andrew Rube Foster founded the first black baseball league in 1920. In 1947, Jackie Robinson made history. He joined an all-white baseball team, yet he was not the first black player to do so. Bud Fowler joined a white team in 1878. He was the only black player at the time. Soon there were as many as 50 black players in the league, yet by 1900, blacks were banned from white teams. Segregation kept black and whites apart. So black players made their own leagues. Andrew Rube Foster started the Negro National League in 1920. Soon other black leagues formed. Life in the leagues. The Negro Leagues had many fans. Black teams traveled all across the United States. They played in small towns and big cities. The players were heroes. Some people dropped everything to see them play. Black baseball stars did not have it easy. They faced the same problems as blacks around the country. Players could not eat at many restaurants. They could not stay in many hotels. They sometimes slept in their bus. Segregation made their lives hard. Take a look at the picture there. Playing for crowds. Despite segregation, many Negro League games were played in Major League stadiums. The end of an era. The Major Leagues opened to blacks in 1947. Soon all the black leagues closed. Yet blacks started making history in a new way. They became stars in the Major Leagues. And there's a picture of a black team often rode on buses on trips across the United States. You know, and, I'm going to show you a picture of my uncle played in the minors right after the Negro Leagues closed. And he was my uncle, so he's white, whatever. But he made friends with a lot of African-American athletes. And down south, they couldn't even eat at the same restaurants. And they said, you can eat here, but they have to go. And then my uncle said, no, we're all going. And they found some other place to eat that would serve them all. He was very disgusted with the segregation down south. So I was very proud to hear that he did the right thing and didn't give his money to racist people. All right. And speaking of that, here are the superstars of the Negro Leagues. More than 4,000 people played on the Negro League teams. Some of the best have been voted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. James Cool Papa Bell. James Cool Papa Bell was known as the fastest man in baseball. He could circle the bases in just 12 seconds. His speed let him steal many bases. People say he stole 2 bases on a single pitch. Satchel Paige. Now, my uncle played with Satchel Paige, and we'll show you a picture of that. Satchel Paige played baseball for more than 30 years. He was one of the best pitchers of all time. He was the first Negro League player in the Hall of Fame. He joined the Major Leagues in 1948. That year, he helped his team win the World Series. He joined the Major Leagues as an older man, in his late 40s, and he still could play. It's so disgusting he couldn't play and strike out Babe Ruth and do all that. He could have. He did in some games. Like the stars of both leagues sometimes played some all-star games. Josh Gibson was one of the best hitters in black baseball. He could smack the ball more than 500 feet. He hit 962 home runs during his career. Gibson died 3 months before blacks were allowed to join the major leagues. Alright, so I just wanted to read to you and show you how there's some bad things we learned about. But Jackie Robinson, and there's some good things. Eventually, we got rid of that. And we made baseball better, we made our country better. And I think Jackie Robinson's sometimes underrated. I don't know that Martin Luther King Jr. would have had as much success if Jackie Robinson hadn't broken that color barrier earlier. I think he really influenced the country to understand that African Americans are equal, which of course is, it's hard to even talk about, like it's obvious, but one of those things we had to learn and get better at. All right, so say goodnight, Connor.
Good night. See ya, or, well, good day.
Right.
It's night
right,
for us.
buddy. It's night for us.
It's night for us.
All right, so begins the big last week of social studies. All right, we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.